So, Romancing the Stone from the year 1984, starring Michael Douglas and, let's look just real quick, I forget her name, Kathleen Turner. I should know this. But yeah, Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner star in Romancing the Stone. And I really like this movie. I had seen it before, but I think I even liked it more this time around because when I saw it for the first time, I was a tiny child, and I don't think all the jokes landed for me, but I laughed quite a bit. The action was good. Out of all the movies that tried to encapsulate the same sort of feel as Indiana Jones, I think this movie and The Mummy, specifically the first The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, I think these movies do it the best from what I've seen anyway. There might be another one that I haven't seen that does it better, but these to me are as good as you can get, if other than Indiana Jones. Although you could debate that these are better or as good than Indiana Jones, I think I like The Mummy more than Indiana Jones. But that's just my generation. We grew up with that shit, you know. We love Brendan Fraser, and the Mummy movie specifically. But anyways, getting a little off topic, so let's keep it going. Yeah, I did quite enjoy this. It was fun to revisit. But let's look at the Rotten Tomatoes. I agree about The Mummy versus Indiana Jones. Yes, you're with me. Yeah, I mean, Indiana Jones is good, don't get me wrong. But it's just my generation, and your generation too, probably, was The Mummy. It's what we like. It's what we love. And I don't know about the other ones in the series, but the first Indiana Jones versus the first Mummy movie, the Mummy movie wins. If we're talking Temple of Doom, that's like my favorite one. A lot of people say it's the worst one. I like it. I would maybe put it above, not the first one, but I'd put it above the other movies. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Let's look at Romancing the Stone on Rotten Tomatoes. 86% from the critics, so that's pretty big. 69% on audience score. Oh, I didn't say it, but if anyone wants to talk about this movie, if you've seen it, if you're a fan, if you know it well enough, or if you don't know it well enough and you've just seen it before, and you want to talk about it, pop in the Discord, let me know. I'll bring you up on audio and we can discuss it. But that's in the chat if you're into it. But in the meantime, back to the review. So 86% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critics and 69%, and feeling fine, for the audience score. Romancing the Stone reaches back to the classic Saturday morning serials like Indiana Jones did, of old, with an action-filled adventure enlivened by the sparkling chemistry between its well-matched leads, Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. Yeah, I would agree with that consensus. Let's go down to the reviews. So let's read some bad reviews. The setup in Romancing the Stone is poorly contrived to sustain a chase thriller. I disagree. I think it makes enough sense and it works to the movie's advantage. And I like the little differences that makes this movie unique. Like the fact that Kathleen Turner plays a romance novelist, I think really adds an interesting element to this. Turner is like a lot of unwitting screen heroines. Instead of her guaranteed that her drab existence is about to be transformed, probably by a man, preferably handsome and adventurous. Well, yeah, but that's the type of movie this is. And it was trying to be like those old serials that of course were like that because they were even older. And she is, although, yeah, she's sort of like a damsel in distress in some ways. They established as competent and smart, and she's just sort of out of her element. She's not like a dumb character that they disrespect, I think, if that's what they're trying to say. I don't agree. Turner is terrific. Douglas is fine. And the action is slam bang. And lots of laughs, and it all works just right. I think Michael Douglas is good as well. I think they're both good in their roles. Here's another negative review. Director Robert Zemeckis displays such dazzling cinema, know-how, that it's generally depressing when this 1984 film falls off into the usual self-ridicule. I don't know. It works for me. I like a lot of these cliches. I talked about in my last review of the third Maze Runner movie that a lot of the cliches in that annoyed me and I didn't like them. But if you pick the right cliches, the ones that I like, the fun ones, which this one does, I have no problem with it. It tells a fun story. It adds cool elements to the movie. I like this. And Robert Zemeckis did a good job as the director. The script is sharp and funny. The direction sure-footed on both the comedy and action fronts. And the whole thing adds up to rather more concerted fun than Indiana Jones' flab-ridden escapade in the Temple of Doom. So they're saying that this is better than the Temple of Doom. I wouldn't agree. But I think this one's better than Raiders. And I think it's better than The Last Crusade. And, of course, this Crystal Skull. But I just love Temple of Doom. It's the most fun one to me. Is it technically the best? Maybe not. But it's my favorite because of maybe nostalgia and the Caliman and Short Round. And there's lots of... And, it's, parts of it are problematic maybe. But if you just don't worry about that stuff, it's fun. And remember that it's a victim of the times. It's a product of the times. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I think that's enough of the reviews. 86% on the critic score, 69% on audience, which is pretty good. Let's see what it gets. 6.9 out of 10, the same as the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, basically. Same conversion, anyway. 6.9 out of 10 it gets on IMDb, which is pretty good for IMDb. Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, of course. Oh, yeah, of course, Danny DeVito is in this. He's one of the kidnappers. I'll lay down the basic plot. So Kathleen Turner is a romance novelist, and her life is turned upside down when her sister phones her and lets her know she's been kidnapped, and she has to bring this map that's been sent to Kathleen Turner's house. So Kathleen Turner has to bring this map and trade the map for her sister, and she has to go to Colombia to do this because that's where they are. And Danny DeVito is one of the kidnappers. Let's see. Who else do I know in this? No one, really. Danny DeVito, Kathleen Turner, and Michael Douglas. Those are the people I know in this movie. But, moving on. Everyone, I can't really think of a bad performance. I think overall this was pretty well acted. Let's see, the box office. I think this did great because it got a sequel, which we'll be doing. I'll be reviewing next week. Jewel of the Nile is the sequel. We'll be talking about that one next week. But the budget, $10 million, which is always a good sign. When you got a low budget like that and the movie fucking kicks ass, which this one does. So this didn't gross crazy, but for the budget it did, I guess, like 8 times the budget. 86 million, but compared to a movie nowadays, it's maybe not as crazy. But when you spend only 10 million, it makes it worthwhile, right? So that's why I love it when there's a mixture of movies that with low budgets and high budgets. But now it's all these like blockbusters. That's all it is. That's all they make is blockbusters, and that's why a lot of these movies are failing now. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic, but $10 million for the budget, 86 million. 572,000. Sorry, 86,572,000 gross worldwide for the box office. But yeah, that's the IMDb page, and that was the Rotten Tomatoes. Let's look at. I'm just gonna make sure no one's in the Discord. I'm sure someone would have told me, and I don't think anyone is, but that's fine. Just wanted to make sure, Let's look at my notes for Romancing the Stone. So my first note simply says, Monkey Puppet Salesman. So this is sort of a funny opening to the movie. Not the first thing you see, but relatively early on in the movie. You see all these salesmen in New York. I think it's New York. There's this guy trying to sell monkey puppets. And he's got one he's trying to sell to Kathleen Turner. And he's like, hey, come on, you want a monkey puppet? It'll be good. You know what you want. You want this monkey puppet. It'll be good for your boyfriend. Come on, it'll be good for your niece and nephew. Get the monkey puppet. Let's go. I don't know, I just like that. That's all that note means. But beautiful shots of what appears to be Mexico. I mean, what appears to be Colombia, because that's where it's set. But it's Mexico. So I had to Google this because I was curious if it was actually set in Colombia. But apparently they had to film this in Mexico because they couldn't get protection in Colombia from the drug cartels and stuff. So they had to film it to be safe for the crew and cast. They had to go to Mexico. But the movie looks great. You know, the shot, I certainly couldn't have told that it wasn't Colombia. So the movie looks great. Beautiful shots of Mexico. Where are all the other passengers during the gunfight? So Kathleen Turner takes a bus. She's trying to go meet up with Danny DeVito and the other kidnapper because she's trying to give the map in exchange for her sister's life. But the bus gets into a crash and it stops, and I guess all the people must have left or something, but there's a gunfight with Michael Douglas and this other cop who's looking for the jewel that the map leads to, and they're in this big gunfight, and it just doesn't seem like much time has passed, so I thought that there would have been some people around, but it seems like everyone's gone. And yeah, I guess maybe that's a pacing thing too, but it just could have been explained better where all the people that were on the bus went during this gunfight that's taking place on the buses. So yeah, that doesn't make sense. But so this line's kind of funny, but it doesn't make any sense. Must be French, he says, but he's clearly not, because this guy who's the cop, Zola, I think, we'll just call him that. He's like this cop who's trying to find the jewel, and he's in a car with Danny DeVito, and Danny DeVito's like covering his face because they've apparently been in the same building, but he somehow doesn't recognize him, which also just doesn't make sense. But no, this line is kind of funny because the cop Zola is like, "Hey, are you American?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not Americano. I hate Americanos." And he's like, "Oh, you must be French," and that's just sort of a joke. Because French people typically hate America, or at least it's a stereotype. I'm not saying all French people hate Americans, but it is a stereotype. But he's clearly not French because he's not even close to speaking in a French accent. But it's kind of funny, I guess, so I let it slide. But just a little bit of a nitpick there. He's clearly not French. And maybe he's just making a joke, so you could excuse it like that, I guess. Why wouldn't the cops know it's Danny if his photo is on a wanted poster? So Danny gets taken to this police station where there is a wanted poster on the wall with his face on it, and somehow he doesn't get caught. Somehow they don't arrest him. Somehow Zola doesn't even know, even though that they've seen each other before. It doesn't make any sense that he doesn't get arrested. So I think that part's really crazy. Because they established that they would know each other, so yeah, so that part doesn't make any sense to me. At this point, I would give up the jewel. So yeah, there's a point where like Kathleen Turner is getting her wrist slit and stuff, and like she's clearly in danger, and Michael Douglas has the jewel, but he's not coughing it up. Like, cough it up a little sooner. I guess the point is sort of that like he's rugged and he wants the jewel, and he's sort of learning to be nice, and his character develops over the movie, but still, like, if you see your girl in danger, which you do, you know, you just fucking give up the jewel. Save the girl. Save Kathleen Turner. Yeah, so like I said, at this point, I would have given up the jewel. This is No Time for Cigars. So this is kind of funny, but Zola gets his arm bit off by a crocodile or alligator, whatever, And the jewel actually gets eaten by the crocodile. That's another part of the movie. But anyway, he goes off and runs off into another direction, and he finds time to smoke a stogie, to smoke a cigar. And it's like, man, there's shit, like, people are dying, shit is going down right now, and you're smoking this cigar. This is no time for cigars. But it's kind of funny, so I sort of let it slide. But it doesn't make sense. So I guess he got the jewel, but it could have been explained a little better. So yeah, at the end, you gotta have the happy ending, and Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas getting together. Also, it doesn't really set it up for a sequel, because I'm sure they didn't know this was going to be a huge hit, but it makes it plausible to have a sequel, because they have them having a sort of happy ending. But yeah, I guess he got the jewel, because at the end, it's not explained really that well, because the jewel is in the alligator or crocodile, as far as we know. I guess he says something like he has boots on that are alligator skin, and then I think he quickly says something like, I found that alligator and I got the jewel back. But I would have liked to seen that. I would have liked to seen that part. It could have been explained better of how he got the jewel out of the alligator. Like, did he cut him open? Did he wait till he pooped? And he might have explained that with the line, but again, I would have liked to have been shown. Showing it would have explained it better, and I would have liked it to be explained better how he got the jewel, because obviously he gets the jewel at the end because he has the sailboat. They establish that getting the sailboat and sailing around the world is his dream, and he pulls up with the sailboat to Kathleen Turner, which leads me to my last note. Driving the sailboat around isn't very practical, so why wouldn't he just leave the sailboat at the water and then go pick up Kathleen Turner and be like, let's go to the boat? Instead, they're driving the boat around very slowly. I mean, I know why they're doing it for the last shot, because it's a nice shot. You get to see the boat slowly going out while the end credits roll. But yeah, it's just not very practical. It would have made more sense to leave the boat in the ocean or at the dock or whatever, and then go get a car or whatever, and then drive to the boat, or even just walk to the boat or something. It would have made more sense to do it that way. Well, I get that they want to have that sort of nice image at the end of them riding out into the sunset in the boat, but it's not practical, and it doesn't make that much sense. And that's my last note, though. Overall, I don't have that many notes for it. This movie's not too long. It's well paced. Good action, good comedy, good acting. Other than the few like nitpicks and stuff I had, this movie's not perfect, but I definitely think it's good. Maybe even great. It's possible. I wonder how the sequel's going to be. But yeah, let's rate this. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 Dougs, because yeah, like I said, it captures that sort of spirit of Indiana Jones better than a lot of movies, and I really did quite enjoy it. So yeah, I'm giving it 8 out of 10 Dougs for Romancing the Stone. I'm curious about the sequel, so we'll talk about that next week. Jewel of the Nile is the sequel, and yeah, I'm curious about it. So we'll see that next week. But yeah, Romancing the Stone, overall, pretty good movie, and I would recommend it. It's on Disney Plus if you want to check it out. 8 out of 10 Dougs for Romancing the Stone.